All righty, folks, welcome back. Happy Thursday. So when I saw what happened the other day with that bishop with a family, Trump family sitting there in the church, and this bishop went into some really woke, wacky stuff. I was like, holy crap, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So we had to bring in a couple of my very good friends that are standing by in 1 second. Let me set it up a little bit further for you in case you haven't seen it, which should be a miracle if you haven't by now. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance with their families were nothing short of shocked to hear some of the politically motivated contents of a sermon they sat for at the National Cathedral on Tuesday. There's a lot to dive into here. Reactions from both sides of the aisle, the media, et cetera, Trump's response, and of course, backlash for basically everyone involved. But let's start off with a clip from that sermon. In case you missed it, make sure if you're watching, make sure you keep an eye on Trump and Vance. If you're listening, we'll explain it. We'll break it down for you afterwards. These guys were absolutely perplexed to hear what we're about to play. So roll it.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
So I have to think this was completely out of left field, out of line, and Trump had quite the response after the sermon. But before we break it all down, I want to welcome in Vince Everett Ellison and Pastor John Amanchukwu, two of my very good friends. And by the way, this will be the best panel you'll ever see in TV or media anywhere. These two guys bring the heat. But Pastor, Reverend John, let me ask you first, what in the heck was that all about? How do you think that played out?
I didn't think it played out well. President Trump was disgusted by it. We all are disgusted by it. That was a trans swamp bishop attempting to lecture number 47, our 47th president, President Donald J. Trump. Let's keep this in mind. What does the Bible say about this? What does the Bible say? 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1 says, if a man desire the office of a bishop, he desires a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife. The last time I checked, a she is not a he is not a she, and a man can't be a wife, nor can a female be a husband. So this woman, first and foremost, is operating in a disorderly manner because she should not have the role of bishop in the first place. Number two, she's not blameless. She has the issue of taking upon herself a title and a role that God did not give her. So as it relates to the first two criteria points for the qualifications of being a bishop, she does not meet muster. Now, I travel this country, Eric, addressing content like this. The title of this book is Sparkle Boy. And this book is about transgenderism. It's about convincing kids that you can be the opposite sex. Now, this bishop supports that. She supports the mental sodomy of our children. And that's what's taking place. It's called mental rape. I fight against books like this. It's called genderqueer. All right. And the bishop supports this kind of content. Now, the Bible and Christianity is not about unity. It's about truth. That's why the Bible tells us in John 14:6 that I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me.
Great words. Great words. Vince, what's your reaction to this sermon, this bishop?
Well, as John knows, Satan doesn't just hang out in the strip clubs and in the bars. he goes straight for the pulpit, man. He knows where the action is. And these people know that they cannot destroy the name of Jesus Christ. So what do? They give you a false Christianity. They roll up in there and tell you that Jesus meant this and Jesus meant that when he didn't. And this is who this woman is. There is a woke satanic spirit and an apostasy in the Christian church in America. And it has to be dealt with. John Almanchukwa's church is very strong church. I visited it. He and Bishop Wooden. I mean, if you go to that church, man, it is transformative. The men in that church are strong. The women in that church are feminine. The church, the children in that church are respectful and they're esteemed. It is a beautiful place to congregate. And I went there and I said, this is what church used to be. This is what it's about. But now you go into the churches and it's like they have this woke ideology given to them by the Democratic Party. They go to the Democratic Party and say, Master, what do you want us to preach? The Democratic Party has become their God. And whatever the Democrat Party tells them to preach, that's what they do. This woman is a plant from the political left and from the Democratic Party. She's put in a pulpit. She's not a bit more a preacher or a bishop than I am an astronaut. And we need to let people know this, push back on this, let them understand that this woman is not to be listened to, that she is an apostate. She is a liar. And John Almanchukwa goes out all over the country and he tells people about this. I do it on my podcast. You do it on your podcast. And we know that the best disinfectant is sunlight. And we putting sunlight on these people.
Yeah, indeed. You know, you watch that and they hired some very high esteemed professional lip reader. And from Tiffany to Don Jr., even when Donald Trump leaned over to Melania, it was, can you believe this? Can you believe? They were completely caught off guard by this. But in the aftermath of that event that everyone saw on television, Trump commented on the sermon in classical Trump fashion on Truth Social. And I'm reading this for the people who are listening on radio. Trump said on Truth Social, the so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday was a radical left, hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. She failed to mention the large number of illegal migrants that came into the country and killed people. Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. It's a giant crime wave that's taking place in the U.S. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was I love this part. The service was a very boring and uninspiring one. She's not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology. I'll start with you, Vince, this time. Your thoughts on Trump's response?
This is Donald Trump. That's the reason why he's president. He doesn't hold back. He told the truth. This woman took this opportunity to bring the country together, and she used it as a political football. And this is who these people are. They're not trying to bring people to Christ. They're not trying to bring people to the altar. They're not talking about baptism and saving souls. They are trying to get the president of the United States of America to break the law, to press their crazy political agenda. We have a situation in this country where we no longer have sovereignty, where there are people sleeping on the streets. They call this compassion? Having people sleeping out in the cold? Having children having to come across this border with cartels that are raping them, putting them into sex trafficking, bringing a fentanyl over here that kills 100,000 Americans a year. 100,000. They don't care about that. They want to castrate little boys and call them little girls, give double mastectomies to little girls and call them little boys, as opposed to taking these children and taking them to the altar and counseling them and bringing them to Christ and healing them. They want to take them to the hospital and castrate them. This is insanity. These people are evil, and we need to call them out as the evil people that they are. And Donald Trump did it. That's why I'm glad he's back in the Oval Office to set this country straight. We're going to look back at this time in history, the 4 years of Joe Biden, and we're going to be ashamed of ourselves. We're going to look at it like we look at Jim Crow right now and say, I can't believe that we ever did such a thing to our nation. And we're going to have to correct this. And we have to go about correcting it now. And that's why me and John do what we do, and that's why you do what you do.
Yeah, great. That's like a word that I can certainly raise my hand to. Reverend John, your response, just what was Trump saying here in that response to the bishop?
Well, when he pointed out that it was a boring sermon and service, he's right. You know, you don't go to church to hear someone project their ideology upon you. You go to church to hear what thus saith the Lord. You expect the preacher to tell you what the Bible has said from Genesis to Revelations, not give you a part of their strategy and plan of Kama Sutra as they seek to indoctrinate the hearts and the minds of our children. This woman pushed upon the American people pedophilia. Now, the clinical term for that is MAPS, minor attracted persons, but it's truly pedophilia. That's what she supports. Now, let's talk about these children who may be deported. Let's keep in mind, she mentioned that there are people in this country who are hurting. They're afraid, they are fearful. All of that stuff is just a tactic anyway to say it that way. Let's think about the hurt and the grief that Lake and Riley parents feel at this time. They lost their precious baby girl. To a criminal, illegal alien, not to a newcomer, right? But to a criminal, illegal alien, all right, that came to this country illegally and killed their daughter as she was out trying to get some exercise. Do you think they are grieving? Do you think they are hurting? Think about the number of people who have died because they overdosed on fentanyl. Are those people hurting? Think about the number of mothers who had to lay to rest their sons and daughters because of fentanyl.
How about a father? I did.
There it is. I didn't know that, but I pray that God would mend your heart and strengthen you through that. So think about the number of American citizens who are hurting because we have allowed anarchy to rule our country. We don't have a passive, soft, spineless, bumbling president in the Oval Office anymore. We have someone who walks in strength and he commands strength. And there's this thing called tone from the top. When President Trump speaks, the back of weak men has to stiffen. And he's going to do what's right to strengthen this country and to make America great again, but most importantly, make America godly again.
You know, John, I want to stay with you here because there's, I compare so Trump gets elected, the woke agenda is dying. It feels like it's dying. You look at McDonald's and Home Depot and several other big companies who are pushing back on their DEI hiring initiatives. Some schools, some colleges, some noteworthy colleges are saying we're not going to offer DEI as a course study anymore. So it feels like it's dying. But I consider woke a cancer, like a legitimate aggressive cancer. And for 4 years, it was allowed to spread throughout the body of the United States. Now, if you know anything about cancer, if you don't kill every single cancer cell, you can kill most of it, but if you don't get every single cell, it'll tend to come back. It'll metastasize in other places. Here's my question, long-winded question, but a good one. Is woke hiding like a cancer within the Christian church? And I say Christian because I don't think you'll ever see a Catholic priest say what that bishop said. Is woke hiding within the Christian Christian religion to come back and metastasize against, grow back another time because we haven't eradicated if we don't get it out of Christianity?
Yes, I do believe that it is. I believe that the woke virus is airborne. It's everywhere, but it has permeated the Christian church. In particular, it has permeated our seminaries. Many people go to seminaries today and they walk away with unbelief. They begin to pick apart the Bible and they leave saying to themselves that they don't believe that God's word is true from Genesis to Revelations. And so, yes, woke has commandeered the Christian church and the Christian pulpit. That's why the Bible tells us in Isaiah 5:20, it says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Mm-hmm. There are Christian pastors who say that books like this being placed on bookshelves entitled Genderqueer, that's the title of this book, they say that this is good. I can't open this book right now, Eric, because it's disgusting. Mm-hmm. It's lewd. It's corrupt. But there are people today who would tell you that that is good, but no, it's truly evil. There are people today who would tell you that we should just have unfettered laws as it relates to immigration, and that we shouldn't seek to rectify what's going on with the H-1B visas and what's taking place at the Mexico border, at the Mexico border and the Canada border. No, we should. When you consider the Bible and look at the book of Nehemiah, it's a book about Nehemiah erecting a wall. In the words of President Trump, a very big wall. A wall to keep intruders and invaders out. You can't be a sovereign nation if you can't protect those behind the wall.
Mm-hmm. Vince, what are your thoughts on that theory, that idea of mine that woke is like a cancer, and if you don't kill every single cancer cell, you will have a return to it. It'll become cancerous again. It'll become woke again. The country and specifically whether or not the woke cancer is hiding out in the Christian church.
Oh, no doubt, especially in the quote unquote black church. And, you know, John will tell you, like I'll tell you, there's no black church. There's only one church, the Church of Jesus Christ. But they call it the black church. And these preachers, I wrote my first book, The Iron Triangle, about them. I said that the problem in the black community is not white conservatives. It's most black preachers, most black politicians, and most black civil rights workers. And they're controlled by rich white liberals and these people are conduits between them and rich white liberals who pay them to keep the black community under the control of the Democratic Party. Most black preachers are just no good. This is why John Alman Chukwu and Bishop Wooden stand out so, because they are true preachers, true believers in Jesus Christ and his word. And when they speak, people are always in awe because they haven't heard the truth before. They've heard the lie. They've heard the lie that you can do whatever you want to, that God has given you freedom of choice to kill your children, that, somehow or another the Bible has changed, and now men can marry men and boys can, and women can marry women. And every time they find an apostate preacher out there, the Democrats will invite them to the White House. They will parade them. They will elevate them and tell everybody that, these are the proper preachers here in America. This is what they do. If you want to get invited to a Democratic Party White House, you just go against the word of Jesus Christ. Show that you are an apostate. And they will, if you are a preacher that's going to marry same-sex couples, if you are a preacher that's going to marry another man, they will highlight you. They will elevate you. They will put you up on a pedestal, and they will tell the world, this is what is proper. These people are satanic. They are evil. Their goal is to use the church not to get us prepared to live forever in the presence of Jesus Christ, but to get us to vote for the Democrat Party, period, and to make the church an arm of the Democratic Party. These leftists are horrible people. You know it. I know it. John knows it. And we are one of the few groups of people in the world that's willing to tell it, unvarnished, in your face. I'm telling you like it is. If you don't like it, come see me and front me. And I'll deal with you. I'm not afraid of these people.
Right.
They're weak. They're stupid. And I am covered. And John's covered. And you're covered by Jesus Christ. So I don't fear not one of them. Let's go to battle. We're going to knock them out.
Let's go. Guys, this bishop doubled down. So the bishop tried to immediately kick off a media tour after, she did what she did to the Trump family, and then she got called out. But she started this media tour, and this should be a good indication of what she's all about. In all places, can you imagine that she went to The View the very next day? Listen to her response to Trump's fitting reaction. Listen.
But do you think your message is being misconstrued and politicized?
Well, sure. Yeah. But I think if you read what I said, and how could it not be politicized, right? We're in a hyper political climate. One of the things I caution about is the culture of contempt in which we live that immediately rushes to the worst possible interpretations of what people are saying and to put them in categories such as the ones you've just described. That's part of the air we breathe now. And I was trying to speak a truth that I felt needed to be said, but to do it in as respectful and kind a way as I could. and also to bring other voices into the conversation, which voices that had not been heard in the public space for some time.
All right, John, I'm going to go to you first. A quick reaction on both you guys. It sounds more like a politician than a preacher to me. John?
She was trying to speak a truth, but she didn't speak the truth. Right? The Bible says, let God be true and every man a liar. DEI is a false triune idol. It mimics the Trinity. All right. In the Trinity, you have Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. With DEI, you have diversity, equity, and inclusion. What God longs for is for private worship that would extend out into corporate worship. And diversity, equity, and inclusion, they can care less about private worship. They want you to bow to the sacred cow in public. She's on a campaign to push the false triune idol. She's an apostate, she's a heretic, and she shouldn't have had opportunity to speak in the presence of President Trump. Now, heads need to roll. We have to say this. Who is going to be fired for bringing in this trans swamp bishop assassin? Whoever did that, their head needs to roll. Fire that person today. Let America know who that person is. We want to expose them, and Trump needs to clean house early.
All right. Well, Vince, hard to follow that one, but a final thought from Vince.
Well, like you said, she's a politician in the pulpit, period. She's a politician in the pulpit. They understand the power of the church in the United States of America. It's our first right, the freedom of religion. They understand that they cannot destroy Jesus Christ. 75% of white Americans and 85% of black Americans say that they're Christian. So they can't destroy his name. So they put up a false Christ, and they try to tell people to follow the false idol of Christ. And that's who these people are. They are politicians in the pulpit. They are apostates. They are liars, and they're going to be taken down. Look, we had a slimmer of hope in this last election when we saw the largest percentage of black people since the 1960s go to Donald Trump. And it's not going to stop. They haven't learned their lesson. They just right now put the first congressman from Delaware, a transgender guy, a man in a dress, they put him on the cover of the style section of Washington, D.C. and said, ooh, look at what we've just done. We want your son to be a man in a dress also. And they're thinking that the working people in the United States of America say, yeah, that's what I want my son to aspire to be, a man in a dress. And they're going to keep on pressing this ideology. They're going to keep on pushing it on people, and we're going to keep on rejecting it. Yeah. So I'm glad to see her up there, man. She helped us out a lot. She just made sure that we won the midterms, I believe.
Yeah, she certainly pulled out the emotion on the right. And, wow, that was phenomenal. Hey, guys, I really love having you on. If you don't mind, can I take Reverend John? Where can the folks find you if they want to follow you?
Yes, you can go to iknowgod.us and follow me there. But also, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's John Amanchukwu, or go to @REVWU Truth. That's RevWu Truth on YouTube.
Perfect. How about you, Vince?
Hey, y'all can go to the Vince Everett Ellison Show. It's on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And you can go to VinceSpeaksTruth.com. That is my website. You get all my books, my documentaries, and a lot of merch there. So support me and John. We out there in the hinterlands fighting every single day. But you know what, y'all? We happy warriors. We have a ball doing it, don't we, John?
I love it. Love you guys, man. As promised, one of the greatest panels ever. I'd love to get you guys back again another time very soon. Reverend John Amanchukwu, Vince Everett Ellis. And by the way, it's going to be Reverend Vince pretty soon if I'm not, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling that.
John's a preacher. I'm going to stand behind him holding his coat.
All right, very good. Guys, we appreciate your time. We'll get you back soon. Thank you.
You too. God bless you.
Trump has done something no person in the world has ever done before. A dead man, a dead politician has risen. Somebody who 4 years ago at Davos, he's buried, dead politically, known to me. He's now returned. This is the greatest comeback in political history of a politician. And then, therefore, he thinks he can do anything.
We need to also factor in not only who's won, which is Trump, but who's lost, which is to say us.
Isn't that wonderful? That's very juicy, my friends. Isn't it wonderful? It's not enough that President Donald Trump and MAGA clearly won the election and the mandate, the national mandate. It's not enough that we're slowly but surely returning America to our original glory from before Barack Obama told us we were not allowed to be exceptional anymore. And the whole leftist regime, Obama, Pelosi, Biden, trying to take us down a notch. Well, it's a uniqueness and the things that really, really matter to our country and truly make us great. But on top of all that, we get to watch the ivory tower cowards on the left actually acknowledge their own defeat. But listen to their words carefully. Trump has, quote, won, and we have, quote, lost. And now he can do whatever he wants. He thinks he can do anything, is what they say. That's the kind of talk these people use when they conspire to topple a person or a government. They're implying yet again, but this time on an international stage, they're outright saying it, not just implying it, that President Trump's win, his massive comeback, means he thinks he can do anything. Maybe he does. He's got a national mandate. I don't know. But what's more, they're also saying we need to acknowledge who lost, which is to say, us or them. Some of those attending the World Economic Forum are saying that it's done, that the WEF is finished. I'm not so sure. There was half an empty room while the German chancellor was talking a few days ago. Rooms and sessions were less full than every other year. Quiet. Some of them empty even. These globalist and nefarious international New World Order clowns are just so toxic and exposed that nobody is even showing up at these meetings anymore. That's truly a sign of the times. When President Trump attended the World Economic Forum during his first term, you couldn't even get a seat in any of the sessions. Apparently, they were filled to the brim. Our congressional members were in attendance, our billionaire class, our politicians. This time around, a bit of crickets are happening in the snow. These people are done. And they know they're done. And maybe, just maybe, it's because they stand there and say things like this complete clown leftist right here.
I propose putting an end to anonymity on social media. In our countries, no one can walk the streets with a mask on their face or drive a car without a license plate. No one can send packages without showing an ID or buy a hunting weapon without giving their name. And yet, we are allowing people to roam freely on social networks without linking their profiles to a real identity.
You know what that is? Well, that's Pedro Sanchez. That's Spain's very leftist prime minister trying to control speech to punish those who convey differing opinions than his own and his party's own. He wants your identity so that if you say anything he doesn't like, they can come after you more easily. They can find you. And these jerks, these losers, have learned nothing. But it doesn't actually matter at this point what they think and what they say, because President Donald Trump is the leader of the free world now. Their continent has let migrants who want to kill their way of life and rape their girls and women, they want everyone to know how unhappy they are that President Trump is in charge, which just makes us even more happy. I'm sure they look over and watch in horror as a new Trump directive bans the use of the term migrants and mandates the use of the term illegal aliens. By the way, it's illegal aliens in all our law books. I don't know why the left is so offended by illegal aliens. It's been there since the beginning of time, at least since the beginning of America. By the way, exactly what they are illegal aliens. They're aliens. I actually prefer the term invaders, but illegal aliens serves the purpose just as well. America and the world's left are all in horror over that. They prefer calling pedophiles minor attractive persons. Remember that? MAPS. Remember the whole pedophile community saying they were being libelous against them for calling them pedophiles, call them MAPS, minor attracted persons, those filthy animals, and refuse to call people who entered into the country what they really are. They're illegal and they're aliens. It's a technical definition that the government has been using forever. Thank God Trump is bringing it back. They look in horror as they watch President Trump sign an executive order to end all entry into the U.S. through the southern border, but there's no reason at all to give a damn what these people think about us. This is about protecting America and Americans. And that's the only possibility that matters, period, full stop. Something their countries have zero interest in doing whatsoever. Their way of doing things is completely behind us. At 5 p.m. on Wednesday, all federal employees in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles were placed on paid, I'm sure they should be paid, but paid administrative leave. That's just the first result of an executive order that President Trump signed on Tuesday. The end, the death of DEI in government, which will trickle down to the rest of America. A return to meritocracy. Wouldn't it be great? Isn't that what we built this country on 249 years ago? Because next year's 250. That's going to be a great celebration, by the way. Their way of doing things is completely behind us. We're currently watching the wokest elements of the left realizing in real time that they are now a minority, and that minority is getting smaller and smaller. Just think of McDonald's and the many big corporations who've closed down their DEI initiatives. Now we just need them to get rid of the social government environment, ESG, mandates as well. That's next. And that most Americans hate those things and those ideas. For a long time, they thought they were the dominant force in America, socially and politically. You know why? Because the left, because Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, AOC, they all told us, they jammed it down Americans' throats while they had the ball, while they had the White House and the Senate. They jammed it down our throats that if we were against DEI, we were racist. We are somehow bigots, and that's not the case. I don't care what your color is or who you sleep with. If you're the most qualified for the job, you're going to get the job. Certainly on my show, certainly on probably everyone's mind on the right. So this painting anti-DEI with some sort of racist or bigot brush is BS, because it all came down to we were putting people in place not because of their merits, not because of their skills. We were putting them in place because of their color or because of their gender affiliation. That was wrong. That's against being productive in a good society, in a strong society. Again, use the example. Do you care what the color of your surgeon is or your airline pilot? No, you care that they can perform surgery on you or they can land your damn plane. Should be across all businesses. I think Trump is headed that way. It's now dawning on them, on the left, one by one, that they have lost their power. And worse, they are now reviled and loathed, and Trump isn't slowing down. It's happening right before our eyes, like watching a spring flower unfurl its petals. Their way of doing things is behind us in our rear view mirror. Let's keep it there, by the way. It's over for them, and I, for one, I'm here loving it, and I'm here to enjoy it immensely. All right, folks, here's a kicker. We love to do this at the end of the show, lighten it up a little bit. So wait till you see this picture. Hollywood, they're in a difficult spot right now. They claim to hate Trump so much, the Hollywood actors, yet they watch their blue leaders literally burn the entire state of California to the ground. And I will add, they're watching their Silicon Valley, Northern California folks, compadres, amigos, who've always been anti-Trump, are lining up to hang out with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, at the inauguration. Bezos, Musk, the AI folks, over and over, they're all making their way. Northern Silicon Valley, California people are making their way to the White House. But Hollywood, they got to worry about that. It's burning because of the policies of their Hollywood. So some of the Hollywood A-listers have come out and slammed their elected leaders. Others have remained unusually silent after Kamala got destroyed in the election. Some of these lunatics are finally starting to show their faces again. And, well, let's just say they seem to be going absolutely insane just 3 days into Trump's second term. Behold.
The sun comes up, the sun goes down, and my hair is a symphony all its own. It's so beautiful. It takes my breath away.
Can we get a wellness check for Glenn Close, folks? She all right? Bolling, out.